Hello and welcome to Wrestling Questions You Want Answered. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, joined by Adam Cleary and Adam Nicholas from What Culture to answer all of your wrestling questions. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, for daily wrestling podcasts. We review Raw, SmackDown, the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT, pay-per-views, we have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on Wrestle Culture. But as I said, joined by Cleary and Nicholas, we are live right here on YouTube. So if you want any questions answered, do stick them in the comment section. We'll try and get through as many of them as we can in the next few minutes. But let's start off with the most obvious place to start, Retribution! 5 members seemingly revealed on last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. Not officially, and yes, the argument could always still be made, oh, they're going to change who's actually in it by the time the masks come off. But it seems to suggest that people that we've been guessing may well be in there are going to be part of it. The likes of Dominic Dijakovic, Mercedes Martinez, Dio Madden, Mia Yim, and Shane Thorne, the first 5 identities sort of revealed, especially because Mercedes Martinez on NXT has been wearing a mask that only shows that part of her face, so it's really recognizable. But first off, Adam Nicholas, your reaction to the revelation about these 5 being in Retribution.
Revelation is a very kind word, isn't it? Like, as if this was
Retribution, mate.
Yeah, honestly, man, like, just put a mask on properly. It can't be that hard. It can't be. Kane's been doing it for years and years and years. He was doing. I feel like we've somehow ended up bringing real life onto TV somehow. Just wear your mask and wear it right. It's not complicated. Put it on your face. Cover up where you need to cover. But yes, there's some very, very familiar looking faces there. I mean, Dijakovic was it's so hard to make him not look like Dijakovic. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love the fact that someone said, oh, I've done some like pitch shifting and worked out. What's this Dijakovic? He's about 7 foot tall. Who else is it going to be? Cleary, what do you reckon to this? And who else do you think could be a part of this ragtag bunch of misfits?
Well, on the one hand, I am absolutely here with Nicholas in that I refuse to just let yet another element of my life be consumed by this person can't wear a mask correctly, because it's just driven me to the point of insanity over the summer. But also, I refuse to be moved from my position that absolutely you cannot tell right now who a single one of these people are, because they will just change their mind when it comes time to reveal them. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they're literally, like, they must know how obvious it looks. Like, just stick any goobers from NXT in there, and everyone on the internet will be like, oh, we've worked out who it is, etc., etc. And then when it finally comes time to actually reveal it, just make it Mojo Rawley. Like, that's literally how their mind's going to work with it.
Yeah, as I said, don't forget to stick your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe not as much as BBC 2 Times, who writes, what is this ginger abomination? Comments.
You got to be more specific there.
Still. I mean, like, I like all those 5 names as being a part of it, and the speculation is rife as to who some of these will be.
Nobody likes the name Dominic Dijakovic. You ever tried writing it down?
Yeah, no, I've about 5 goes every week and just give up, basically. On the one hand, it's an exciting time for these 5 as a launch pad for them. But on the other hand, when has this ever gone well? And when's it gone well with this storyline even once? What's one major thing they've done aside from just screw up the end of Monday Night Raw, for example, last week and this week, and just blow up some bits with Molotov cocktails, it seems. Look, there's some of the names being linked to it, but clearly, would you like to see, someone asked this on the news this morning, like to see the SmackDown hacker be involved in this storyline, or is that just dead?
Hang on, look, I'm in Retribution. This is me in Retribution.
You've got the best job then.
Got the best job. Just to the lights. Oh, hang on. There's a chair. Hang on. Oh, take that chair. Like, the thing is, like so many things WWE've done in the last couple of years, and I'm glad you mentioned the SmackDown hacker in this, because this does tie in quite nicely to it. What you have here is the seed of a very interesting narrative thread. Never mind a wrestling storyline, something that's got a very interesting concept behind it. And through, like, once you take the idea and you run it through like the production line of failed soap opera writers, and then an insane man who has no idea how to like run a wrestling show, anymore. Then it goes back through the committee, and then it gets loads of script writers applied to it. And it goes back through that process again. And then obviously he loses his big bag of money. He doesn't know what he's going to do with it. So then has to go low budget, and it goes back to once it basically goes through this blender of just unfiltered muck, right? It just doesn't matter anymore. Same with the SmackDown hacker. That was a genius idea a while back. Got people talking. Could it be CM Punk? Is it a launch pad for a new star? Incredibly interesting. Now it's like, oh yeah, they forgot about that. So I, as a fan, I'm no longer invested. And by the time Retribution decides to reveal who they actually are, you will be in the same boat. Like, the half-life of wrestling storylines in WWE is now incredibly, incredibly short. It does not take them long to kill whatever like natural level of enthusiasm you have for it. And it's not the fans' responsibility to keep the enthusiasm going for these things, like by speculating on it and by trying to find the stuff where it's there. Like Bayley and Sasha have managed to keep that going, God bless them. But there is an element of Michael Hamflett going, no, look, if you look really hard, it is still good. Like, they run out of steam on these ideas. So if they want to bring the SmackDown hacker back into it, cool. I'm sure that'll revive it for another 2 weeks. But long-term faith in it being worthwhile. And if you look and examine the clues, it was there all along. Nah, don't buy it. Wasn't there. It'd just be thrown in for the sake of it.
I think the few people that could make this work or be introduced well, as Clary sort of alluded to there, is the likes of The Miz, who we've seen on numerous occasions arriving late when they're trying to fight off Retribution or whatever. Or, for example, I thought this week, Kevin Owens, who has a knack for getting everything over in WWE. Even that god-awful promo he cut last night, talking about 40% off at Hot Topic and whatever. He benefited, obviously, last night, beating Aleister Black as a result, and then obviously Owens hit the stunner for the victory there. Would he be someone you could see in this group, Nicholas?
I kind of hope not, for me personally. And on a side note, Aleister Black being a man who gets distracted by the dark, literally lives in the dark. Who knows how that works? But Kevin Owens, I guess I personally wouldn't have read too much of him getting stunned, and obviously I'd get the win over Aleister Black because of that. But I'm just trying to think who would genuinely want, like, when they get to the end of all this, because I don't know how much faith we have in this Retribution thing. The fact it's been so all over, the fact, as Cleve points out, it's just been whoever they can get, ragtag bunch, put them together, change them around, mix the heights up. Who cares? Who's available at this point? It's kind of been the MO of the whole thing. And it's just led to nobody, like, you don't know. It could just be brand new people. At the end of it, they could reveal it all. It just could be Evolution in masks. It's Randy Orton, it's Batista, it's Ric Flair, and Triple H, and they're all just, surprise, the joke's on you because we got you. So I don't know, but I just don't know if I want to be associated with, if I was someone on that roster right now, would I want to be revealed as the person who's the leader of Retribution? I don't think so.
I don't know what their MO is, aside from being slightly annoying. Christopher, speaking of factions, Christopher Gilmartin in the comments says, do you think more people join the Hurt Business? They are 4 men strong, of course, now, Cleary. You've got Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, now, of course, Cedric Alexander. Is there a big option?
I think WWE likes to... There's kind of an unwritten rule about good wrestling stables, is once you swell them beyond 4, you can get away with 4 in a manager, I think. So once you swell them beyond 4, either someone's got to not be doing any wrestling, or someone's got to be there as a manager, or as they're known in the female world, a valet. So I think that's the only way you're going to get that any bigger. I don't want to have the obvious conversation about this. Like, top of your head, Adam Wilborn, who would be a good candidate to be another member of the Hurt Business? Is it Kevin Owens? Why is it not Kevin Owens?
Yeah.
What's the disqualifying criteria for someone like Kevin? Why can't Sami Zayn be in it?
It's a very good point. I'm pleased to say, actually, we are joined now by a representative of Retribution.
Oh, great.
Anything you'd like to say?
No.
Jarvin Jane says, Keith Lee, maybe anything you'd like to say in response to that?
He is not the leader of Retribution.
Okay, well, maybe we can get some pitch shifting done on our end, and we can maybe, hopefully, by the end of
this... Keith Lee you're talking to.
Right. Let's attempt at least to move on. Adam
See,
Cleary,
everyone in the comments would be like, "Oh, I've worked it out. That's Adam Nicholas. We'll get them on next week. It'll just be Phil." Because the Predators are the same person with Phil's massive beard stuck out the bottom.
Adam Cleary, you are our
What?
representative here of NXT as the presenter of NXT Ups and Downs on a Thursday or Wednesday or the day after whenever NXT happens, basically. Finn Balor has said in a recent interview he would love to see Randy Orton return, or not return, but go to NXT. Is that something you'd like to see?
Finn Balor's a troll. like, you have to qualify every single Randy Orton conversation with all the other wrestlers say they love working with Randy, which I'm led to believe is true for some reason. I'm not sure what it is, but it is apparently true. So sure, Finn Balor is a professional, really respects Randy Orton, and whoever just asked him the question, would you like to work with Randy Orton in NXT? And he politely said, sure, why not? Be a laugh. Like, that's the start and the end of this. I really don't want this to start some kind of, and apologies if this was the headline on the news this morning, I don't want us to start some Randy Orton to NXT ? Because not only does it like, that's it, it's finished, isn't it? Like, WWE might as well just, if that's what it's come to, moving Randy Orton to NXT, it's failed. Because it's a star-making vehicle, and it's for creating new stars. And they've already got a problem of not having made any stars on their own brand, but surely the scope is still there to bring people through and offer TV time to people who weren't previously going to get it. There's probably been nobody currently actively working in WWE who has had more screen time and more ring time in the company than Randy Orton. I think I'm probably right in saying that. I don't know if anyone will do the math, as it's known in America, on that, but I think nobody is currently more established a WWE star than Randy Orton. If he goes to NXT, NXT is dead.
Yes, Ethan Parker in the comments says his style wouldn't mesh with NXT style. I think I should point out two things, as you sort of alluded to by saying Balor's a troll. He had openly admitted in this interview he hasn't watched a second of Raw and SmackDown since he wasn't on those shows. And I think the only way, Mr. Retribution, I almost revealed partially, potentially your identity, Mr. Retribution. The only way
I do know it's a Mr.
Good point. Retribution Representative. The only way you'd like to see him in NXT, I suppose, would be part of their brand warfare invasions.
I think if he does end up back in NXT, it would be like
sounds familiar.
I don't know. It would be another thing where this would be like the literal manifestation of all of the main roster stuff that they've sort of nicked from the main roster and started bringing it NXT, which I think is diluted it, the chasing of the ratings and stuff. Randy Orton doesn't need to be on there, although there are some people I would be fascinated to see him wrestle against. So, and then I would be there. Let me just caveat that with some people I'd immediately not be interested when they got to the actual wrestling part. I like the idea of it, and then as soon as I watch the match, maybe not so good.
Yes, I think that's what everyone thought when the rumors around him and Ciampa were swirling. It was what a great build that could be, followed by quite a lot of chin locks. Christopher Gilmartin also writes, what next for Drew after Clash of Champions? He looks set for an ambulance match with Randy Orton or Keith Lee, depending on if Randy Orton is medically cleared for Clash of Champions. What would you like to see him doing next, Nicholas? Or is it just feuding with Keith Lee?
I mean, it's tough with Keith Lee because I found it really hard to kind of be motivated. What are you laughing at?
No, Nicholas, what do you want?
Surely you can hear this. This is nice and clear, isn't it?
That's fine.
It'll do. Well, I've committed to this now, and I can't take it off. Yeah, I think the thing with Keith Lee, it's hard to be motivated by a lot of the stuff because the whole thing feels a bit fumble for me personally, and I haven't really enjoyed a lot of it. So I'd like to see him wrestle Drew, but I want to see Keith Lee, who was in NXT, wrestle Drew McIntyre, and that's kind of what I'll be missing out on at the moment, I feel like. Are we going to get Drew and Randy forever? Quite possibly. But he can't wrestle in NXT then, so maybe that's a good thing.
I think, or I hope at the very least, Drew is just going to claymore Randy Orton into the ambulance at the match at Clash of Champions and then be done with it, please, God. Speaking of moves, Adam Cleary,
this better be good. This better be Carol.
No. On Chris Jericho's recent Saturday Night special, he talked about who he'd like to see in AEW, not the What Culture Wrestling exclusive of Roman Reigns, which was, of course, the best exclusive. But in fact, he said recently he'd like to see Samoa Joe head to All Elite Wrestling. How feasible is that? And do you reckon that would be good for Joe's career?
This is a man who hours before All Out, or Double or Nothing, whichever was the Vegas one me and you were at. I forget about all the shows we get flown around the world to see. Whichever one that was, he did a video of himself wishing somebody a happy birthday or something with mocks on giant screens behind him. So I think if Chris Jericho says he'd love to see Samoa Joe in AEW, while we're at a point where there's some talk about Samoa Joe perhaps not being happy, some talk about a major star running down their contract, I would say probably take that as read that Samoa Joe is going to go to AEW. I don't mind saying it.
It would be a real coup for them, Retribution Representative, don't you think?
I do think that would be a massive coup, actually. A big coup, a big moo coup. No, genuinely, I think to see Samoa Joe back doing what he does, he's great at everything, Samoa Joe. Like the commentary stuff's been great for me when he was on there and everything else in between. But I just think he's a great wrestler. I always go back to when that was that promo between him, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and he was just going down the barrel of Brock, and Brock wasn't looking at him, and he screamed in Brock's face, so look at me when I'm talking to you. The intensity he could bring to that. I don't know. Samoa Joe is still a goddamn killer. He can still do it. He's one of the only most convincing, like, big guy heels that I think I've seen in WWE at the top end of the card that's actually worked. This mask is now going into my eyes just about. This is amazing. But I don't feel like they see him that way, and they didn't pull the trigger then. And I'd love to see a company pull the trigger on him because I still think he can do it. I know he's getting on, but I still think he could have a hell of a run.
I think any time it's sort of alluded that he may be stepping from behind the commentary desk when he had the sort of back and forth, even though I was moaning about it because it was taken away from Mickie James's in-ring return. I thought it was very, very exciting, and I'd love to see it. I think if you could easily drop him in a month's build into a title match, and everyone would buy what on earth could be a title change at the next pay-per-view, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know. And if WWE don't see him that way, then it would make sense, as Cleary sort of suggested, that he's running out his contract and hoping to make the leap to AEW. Regular contributor Balls says Ricochet.
What is this job? What is this job?
Ricochet should go to AEW. Hamlet raised slight concerns that he took the lumbar check so well last night on Raw that is all he's going to be reduced to, almost like the new Dolph Ziggler. Is that a concern, Cleary? And you've worked with him. Surely he'd be better off in any other promotion other than the one that just puts him on sodding main event with Mustafa Ali.
I don't need to work with them to tell you that the vast majority of that roster will be better off in literally any other promotion in the world, even the ones that aren't legally allowed to do shows because of certain ongoing global issues. Ricochet is somebody who has he has a gimmick, which is not his gimmick. You know what I mean? Like, his gimmick is his ability. And WWE is such a reductive place to work. Like, they've looked at Keith Lee and thought, you're not a big, imposing, strong dude. You're a fat guy. Let's put a T-shirt on you and you can barge people around. And they've looked at Ricochet and gone, you're not one of the most inventive pro wrestlers of the 21st century. You're an idiot. And you flop around like an idiot. Look at the idiot flop around. And yeah, I genuinely think that is probably all he's going to be good for now. Like, they let the guy do a hype package ahead of Brock Lesnar, which was, why not me, eh?
Oh.
Why not? They let him do a hype package, which was specifically designed to be, look, if I lose this, then you know what? I am a loser. Everyone's been right. I am nothing. I am meaningless as a pro wrestler. I have achieved nothing in my career, but hey, if I win, and then he lost in about 5 seconds. And that was just like, they are not treating the man well. They do not treat many of their men well. They do not treat many of their anythings well. And yeah. What was the question? Should he go? Yes.
We got this question from Dom on Twitter, which I don't think these two things are related, but it could well be. We talked in the news this morning, Retribution Representative, about Dominic Mysterio getting a push because he's considered one of the top baby faces in the company, according to the higher ups. But could you see him challenging for a title, or has he sort of hit his ceiling, battling someone like Seth Rollins, for example?
I think he hasn't made a bad case for himself. I mean, all the matches that he's put on with Seth so far, I feel like have been pretty good. I think he's done. I would say he's only been overshadowed on that debut by the fact that Pat McAfee was so unbelievable in his debut. But even then, it was still a pretty high standard considering the situation. But honestly, I don't think there's any rush. I wouldn't want to rush him up to start having challenging for, certainly, obviously not the top end titles. Somewhere in the middle, maybe, if there's some sort of storyline he could work there. I imagine somewhere along the line, if he could get involved, him and the Mysterio family taking it like on the Hurt business would be fascinating. I'm sure there's probably an out of there somewhere. I don't think we should rush it, and I feel like you should be paired up with guys like Seth who have been just bringing him along. Like sort of, you saw that lush video of Seth telling him, "Oh, take the frog splash, buddy," or do the frog splash in the middle of the match, trying to guide him through it. And you saw how much it meant to him on the day off for that exact pay-per-view. And I don't know, I just feel like he's got so much to learn. I don't want to rush trying to put him somewhere else. Just put him in there with guys who are going to sort of help him become a better wrestler. That's what you want to see first.
Hell of a debut match for him at SummerSlam, Cleary.
Yeah, I think I don't want to be like down on this, but there's obviously the same with Pat McAfee. There's a level of diminished expectations when someone who's a bit of a novelty makes their debut. Now, I don't want to call him a bit of a novelty because the guy's obviously training to be a pro wrestler. He has pro wrestling in his blood. The guy was technically in a major event at a major WWE pay-per-view at the same age. A lot of us were still having slight issues with going to the toilet during the night, but that's another issue entirely. Dominic Mysterio is obviously going to be a good pro wrestler at some point. Don't know if now is the time, though, is the thing. Like, if they're serious about him, if they see him as somebody who can challenge for titles, who's going to be there for a while, who can be somebody you can do actual things with, rather than just, look, it's little Mysterio, even though he's twice the size of his dad, then they just need to let him have, like, a natural progression through the company. Like, you've introduced him in a brilliant, big way. Now, take that away, take away the fact he's Dominic Mysterio, and go, right, where is he in the pecking order of this company as a pro wrestler? What level should he be on? If he's on main event, if he's in NXT, if he has to go do like the less glamorous stuff, as if I'm calling Monday Night Raw glamorous, but like if he has to go do the less spectacular stuff, let him go do it. Like the guy is young, he's got a long time ahead of him.
Clearly, you've got a fairly decent track record when it comes to predicting stuff at Survivor Series. Simon Miller knows all about that one. Louis C in the comments says, Survivor Series 2020, WWE versus Retribution. We'll get your thoughts and then the Retribution representative. Is that something they could set up rather than the usual brand warfare bollocks?
Yeah, Rep over there is probably going to have a much better idea of this than I do, but I think it's probably safe to say that's where they're going with it. I can't see you introducing a large, big, like sweeping group of terrorists this close to Survivor Series if your plan is not to do like pretty much that same thing. Like, think about when did the Nexus come along initially? When did all that start happening? That was like not totally a different time of the year. Like, you're in that nice, it's too soon to build the Rumble. You've just literally gotten over Raw to WrestleMania. Sorry, SummerSlam's been and gone. You've got to build to the big brand warfare angle. You've got to build to the big one group with a righteous cause versus one group with either emotional balaclavas or literal balaclavas. So here we go. What is the point in there being 5 of them if you're not going to do it for Survivor Series?
Rep, what do you reckon? I love that name now.
Thank you.
We'll do it if the money's right.
I also like the fact that they would, in theory, only brawl with Raw because they're a Raw exclusive rebelling force. Now, I love the promo they cut last night. They go, we do what we want, when we want, specifically between 7 and 10 on Monday nights. Ridiculous. Right, one final thing I want to ask you about. AJ Styles has revealed his dream WrestleMania 37 opponent. First of all, Rep, have you seen who this is, and would you care to take a guess as to who it would be?
Well, I say to you, how do you know that I'm not AJ Styles?
Good point.
Dickhead.
Well, I'll tell you just to put everyone out of misery. It is, and I'm cut to Adam Cleary for his reaction immediately after this. You have to make a noise, Cleary, so the camera will cut to you. AJ Styles versus Triple H.
Wow. What's happened here? Has Triple H said the world is round? Gasp. Gods. You know what? I'm not even going to be sarcastic about that. I actually think that'd probably be an all right match. Like, Styles I know it was admittedly cut, like, quite theatrically and given, it gave The Undertaker quite a lot of leeway. But AJ Styles could get probably quite a decent match out of anybody, I think. And if you can come up with some kind of narrative around him and Triple H, Yeah, sure. Why not? Like, let's AJ Styles' dream opponent at WrestleMania is just going mano a mano with the big bag of chips he's eating at home because he's finally been able to get out of that contract. So this is as good a use of him as anything.
What do you recken? I
The
suppose
live community.
I suppose rep. It's all about whether or not you can drag a decent and hopefully slightly shorter match of Triple H, isn't it?
Well, he's never going to get a shorter match out of him. Not in a million years. Many men have tried. Many men have failed. I wonder if the angle is as simple as this. If he's such a, he likes the flat earth theory, then maybe he's not that big of a fan of the evolution theory either. In which case, they're having a chat backstage. Triple H is like, evolution, man. And then AJ Styles like,
what'd you say?
Evolution is a mystery. It's a mystery. He's like, nah, pal, it's not a mystery. It is. I'll draw a line in the sand right now, damn it. And then there you go. There's your match.
That's what they should do. It should be Triple H, AJ Styles, and it's an Iron Man match, the length of one orbit around the sun.
Yeah.
One final thing I wanted to mention, Javal Jane back in comment saying, we need NXT to win again at the Survivor Series. Remember last year it was the best pay-per-view of the decade. Cleary, how are you feeling about your chances this year?
Oh, I've got something big planned this year, my friend. Oh, you thought the stakes couldn't get any higher than a bit of cosplay. You see now.
Well, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it on that cliffhanger. Do let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed, either in the comment section or on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, where you can follow all three of us. You can follow Adam Cleary at
Adam Cleary, CLERY. And I'm furious that I've gone and spent all this money on getting nice new internet in this flat, only for our stream connection through Phil to apparently, according to the comments, look like trickling out of someone's bum.
You can follow Retribution's representative at
Retribution, baby.
You can follow Adam Nicholas, who we had briefly on this stream. It's Adam Nicholas. You can follow our lovely editor, Phil, at Phil My Chambers. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. And you can follow us all, as I said, at What Culture WWE. Make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from as well, for daily wrestling podcasts. But this has been Wrestling Questions You Want Answers. Thank you to everyone for their questions, their comments, and just for joining us today. My thanks to Cleary, to Rep, to Adam Nicholas, to Phil, to everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.